A lot of people make the same mistake. They judge power too early. They look at who talks the loudest, who shows off the most, who seems the most socially polished, who already has the image, the status, the confidence on display, and then they assume those are the people to watch. But life keeps proving something different. Very often, the people others underestimate are the ones who end up surprising everyone. Not because they were trying to fool anybody, not because they were secretly obsessed with proving people wrong, but because depth rarely announces itself. Potential rarely performs itself on command. And real development usually happens in quiet places, long before anybody else sees the result. Let me ask you something early, because I think this is exactly the kind of topic that brings up real memories. Have you ever been underestimated by people who later had to see you differently? And what did they underestimate first? Your intelligence, your strength, your discipline, or your potential? That question usually brings up a face, or maybe a whole season of life. Because if you've lived long enough, you've probably seen this pattern from both sides. You've probably watched people dismiss someone too quickly, and later act shocked when that same person became the one nobody expected. That's what we're talking about in this video, and I want to go straight to the point. People who get underestimated often surprise everyone because most people are not actually good at recognizing quiet power. They are good at recognizing performance, and those are not the same thing. Carl Jung would probably say that a lot of human judgment happens at the level of the persona, the surface self, the social mask, the visible presentation. But the deeper self, the hidden self, the part of a person that is still forming, still integrating, still gathering force, that part is much harder to read. So people underestimate what they cannot immediately categorize. They underestimate the quiet one, the late bloomer, the person who does not need constant attention, the one who is still building in private, the one who is not trying to look important every 5 minutes. And then one day, that same person becomes undeniable. So let's get into it. Here are 7 reasons the people others underestimate often end up surprising everyone. 1. People confuse quietness with weakness. This is probably the first mistake people make. If someone isn't loud, people assume they're unsure. If someone isn't constantly advertising themselves, people assume they have less to offer. If someone doesn't dominate every room, people assume they lack power. That happens all the time, and it says more about how shallow people read strength than it says about the quiet person, because quietness is not weakness. A lot of the strongest people you'll ever meet are not interested in performing strength all day. They don't need to prove presence every second. They don't need to fill every silence. They don't need to keep reminding the room they exist. They just are. And people miss that because most social environments reward noise faster than depth. Jung would probably say that what is most visible is often what gets overvalued. The persona gets attention because it is easy to read. It is obvious, immediate, socially legible. But the deeper self doesn't always look impressive right away. Sometimes it looks reserved, observant, slow to reveal itself. That's why people underestimate quiet individuals so often. They mistake low display for low capacity. They think, if this person had something special, I'd already see it. But life doesn't work that way. Some of the most powerful people are powerful precisely because they are not spending all their energy advertising themselves before they're ready. They're conserving, observing, learning, building. And by the time people finally notice them, the foundation is already there. That's what surprises everyone, not magic. Depth that was never loud enough for shallow eyes to recognize early. 2. Underestimated people often develop in private while others are busy performing in public. This is a huge one. A lot of people are focused on being seen developing, posting the process, talking about the process, signaling the process, making sure everybody knows growth is happening. But some people move differently. They build quietly. They learn in silence, heal in silence, practice in silence, fail in silence, start over in silence. And because none of that is highly visible, people assume nothing major is happening. That's the mistake. Because private growth is still growth. Sometimes it's the strongest kind. Jung understood that the deepest transformations often happen inwardly long before they appear outwardly. The psyche changes first, then the life changes, then the world notices. But the world usually notices too late. That's why underestimated people can seem to suddenly become impressive, suddenly confident, suddenly successful, suddenly disciplined, suddenly clear, suddenly powerful. But it was never sudden. You just weren't invited into the construction site. That's the difference. A lot of people only respect what they can witness. They don't understand that some people are building an entire inner architecture in private, and by the time the outer result appears, it feels shocking to everyone who was only paying attention to appearances. This is why the people who surprise everyone are often the people who said the least while preparing the most. They weren't trying to convince anybody. They were becoming, and that is always more dangerous than performance. 3. People underestimate what they cannot easily control. This one goes deeper. A lot of people are comfortable around those they think they understand quickly. The predictable one, the eager one, the overly available one, the one who wants approval, the one whose insecurities are visible, the one who reacts on cue. But when someone is more self-contained, more inward, more observant, or harder to place, people often misread that as lesser value. Why? Because uncertainty makes them uncomfortable. If they can't easily read you, manage you, or fit you into a convenient box, they often lower their estimate of you just to feel safer. That's a subtle form of psychological self-protection. Jung would probably call this projection mixed with ego defense. A person cannot quickly understand what your energy means, so they reduce it. They say you're shy, simple, slow, naive, less capable, not leadership material, not a real threat. Why? Because that story protects their comfort. It keeps them from having to sit with the fact that maybe there is more there than they know how to measure. That happens constantly. Some people don't underestimate you because they carefully evaluated you. They underestimate you because your depth does not present itself in a form they can immediately dominate or define. And later, when you rise, they act shocked. But what really happened is this. The thing they thought was small was simply not accessible to their usual way of reading people. And because they couldn't control it, they misjudged it. That is a very common human weakness. 4. The people who are underestimated often have less ego and more focus. This is another reason they surprise people. A lot of people waste enormous amounts of energy protecting an image. They need to look smart, look strong, look successful, look ahead, look untouchable. And because so much of their attention is going toward maintenance of image, less of it is going toward actual development. But the underestimated person is often different. They're not spending all day managing a performance. They're not as addicted to social proof. They're not as busy protecting a persona every second. So what happens? They have more energy left for real growth, real work, real skill, real reflection, real endurance, real practice. Jung would probably say that inflation of the ego often blocks the deeper work of individuation. If a person is too busy looking complete, they may never allow themselves to become complete. That's why the underestimated person can be so dangerous in the best sense. They may have fewer illusions about themselves, less need to act finished, less obsession with seeming powerful before they actually are, and that humility becomes an advantage because now they can learn, adapt, improve, take correction, start small, build slowly. Meanwhile, the people who underestimated them are often trapped inside a performance they can't outgrow. This is one of the biggest secrets in life. The person with less ego often develops farther than the person with more display. And because the world is obsessed with display, it gets surprised every time. 5. Being underestimated forces some people to build a deeper relationship with themselves. This part matters. Being underestimated hurts. It can make you doubt yourself, question your pace, question your value, feel invisible, feel dismissed. But for certain people, it also does something else. It pushes them inward. It forces them to stop relying on applause. Stop relying on quick recognition. Stop relying on immediate validation. And over time, that creates something rare. Inner substance. A person who keeps going without being properly seen has to build a different kind of strength. They have to keep moving when nobody is clapping. Keep learning when nobody is impressed. Keep trusting the process when nothing obvious is confirming it yet. That changes a person. Jung would probably say that the path toward the deeper self often includes periods of invisibility, alienation, and misunderstanding. Not because that is pleasant, but because those seasons strip away dependency on superficial recognition. So the underestimated person often ends up with something many celebrated people never develop, a relationship with their own center. They become less driven by appearance, less controlled by public opinion, less desperate for immediate affirmation, and that is exactly why they later surprise everyone. Because once a person stops needing to be constantly seen in order to keep building, their development becomes much harder to interrupt. They are not running on applause anymore. They are running on conviction. And conviction, over time, is far more powerful than image. 6. People usually judge the stage, not the trajectory. This is one of the biggest reasons underestimation happens. Most people judge where someone is, not where someone is going. They look at current position, current confidence, current income, current polish, current social status, and then they make the whole decision right there. But life isn't static. What matters is not only the stage someone is in, it's the direction they are moving in, and underestimated people are often moving in stronger directions than others can see. Maybe they are behind on the surface, but their mindset is sharper. Their discipline is stronger. Their inner life is maturing. Their habits are changing. Their standards are rising. Their self-awareness is deepening. That trajectory matters more than the current snapshot. Jung understood that psyche is process. Human beings are becoming, not just appearing. But the average person is not patient enough to read becoming. They read surfaces. They read snapshots. That's why they get surprised. Because while they were busy labeling someone based on one chapter, the person was already becoming someone else. And honestly, this is one of the most common forms of blindness in human judgment. People confuse current visibility with final capacity. They think where you are now tells them the whole story. It rarely does, especially if you are the kind of person who develops quietly and reveals later. So yes, people underestimate because they're reading the stage. The surprising person is living the trajectory, and trajectory usually wins. 7. The underestimated person often has one advantage others don't: hunger without noise. This may be the most powerful reason of all. A lot of underestimated people are carrying something quiet inside them, not loud ambition, not constant self-advertising. Something quieter, hunger, real hunger. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself. The kind that keeps working after the room stops paying attention. The kind that survives disappointment. The kind that grows under dismissal. That hunger is hard to see from the outside, especially because the person may not be talking much, may not be flexing much, may not look like the obvious favorite. But inwardly, something is happening. They are paying attention, they are remembering, they are building, They are refining. Jung might say that what is alive in the depths of a person often takes time to emerge into form. That's exactly what happens here. The underestimated person may seem ordinary to others because their hunger is internalized, not performed. But internalized hunger often has more endurance. It doesn't burn out as quickly because it isn't spending itself on image. It stays focused, quiet, persistent, and this is where surprises are born, not from flashy promises, from patient pressure. From the person everybody misread because they were too busy looking for visible ambition and missed the private force building underneath the surface. That's why the underestimated person so often shocks people later, because what others thought was small was actually concentrated, and concentrated force is easy to ignore at first, until it moves something undeniable. What does this really mean? Now, this part matters, because the point here is not to romanticize being underestimated all the time. It hurts, it can delay things, it can isolate you, and not everyone turns underestimation into growth. Some people internalize it and shrink. So I don't want to pretend there's something glamorous about being overlooked. But I do want to say this clearly. Being underestimated does not mean being accurately measured. A lot of people are simply bad at reading real potential. They overvalue noise, undervalue quiet, overvalue polish, undervalue process, overvalue confidence on display, undervalue depth under construction. Jung would probably remind us that what is most essential in a person often begins invisibly. And if that's true, then underestimation is sometimes just proof that other people are only reading the surface chapter of a much deeper story. That's why the healthiest response is not bitterness, it's focus. Not spending your life trying to correct everyone's first impression. Not begging to be recognized early by people who only respect what is already obvious. But building anyway, quietly if needed, slowly if needed, without applause if needed, because eventually substance reveals itself, and when it does, it doesn't need revenge. It doesn't need a speech. It just becomes undeniable. So why do the people others underestimate often end up surprising everyone? Because people confuse quietness with weakness. Because private growth goes unseen. Because what cannot be easily controlled often gets dismissed. Because less ego often leaves more room for real development. Because being underestimated can force a deeper relationship with the self. Because most people judge the stage instead of the trajectory. And because quiet hunger often outlasts loud performance. That's the deeper truth. A lot of people are not good at recognizing what is becoming powerful before it becomes visible. They only notice once the result is already there. And if you've ever been underestimated, I hope you remember this. Other people's early reading of you is not final truth. Sometimes it's just evidence that they only know how to measure what is already obvious. And before I leave you, I want to bring that question back because I think this topic will hit something real in a lot of people. What did people underestimate most about you? Your mind, your resilience, your discipline, your voice, or your ability to quietly become someone they never expected? That answer probably says more than you think. If this spoke to you, comment, "They read me too early."